Good morning and welcome to Patricia Speaks. My name is Patricia Morrison. Today I just want to talk a little bit about the crucifixion of Jesus. We have just coming out of our Easter period, our celebrations of Jesus being arisen from the dead and the joy and all what it meant for the world. And I will teach a little bit about that. But today I just want to talk about sort of what happened a little bit before the crucifixion. In other words, the sufferings of Jesus, because I don't know, sometimes I don't think we really consider it as much as we do. I was listening to a profound Bible teacher, Rick Renner, and he was saying, sometimes people will put a cross on their earrings, or they'll wear a chain with a cross on it. And, they may even have it encrusted with diamonds and things like that. And he said, the cross looked nothing like that. It just looked nothing like that. The last time we spoke, I mentioned to you, we were in our studios and we were talking about the two miracles that happened in the garden. In fact, there was more than two. There was three actually. But we spoke about how when they came for Jesus and they were saying, and he said to them, "Who are you looking for?" Judas comes with this whole mob of temple guards, and they say, "Oh yes, we've come for Jesus of Nazareth." And when he said, "I am he," the power just went through them and it just floored them. They ended up on the floor. He asked them again and the same thing happened. There was great power in that garden. And one of the things that I didn't mention, but I will mention now as another miracle that happened, was that there appeared, and I think this is only spoken about in the book of Mark, a young man. He was naked except for a linen robe that he had on. And when they saw this young man, they thought, hey, let's grab him. We don't want him to get away. But the Bible says he ran off and left the robe in their hands. And there had been a lot of speculation as to who this young man was. The fact, because of what he was wearing, because when the Jewish people, when somebody dies, they actually anoint the body and just cover it with this linen shroud. It's just the body's washed and it's covered with this linen shroud, and that's it. And so what happened was it was a place where dead bodies were kept, and this young man had been recently buried, but the amount of power that went through that garden resurrected that young man. Now, of course, they knew what had happened because that's why they wanted to grab him. Why else would they want to grab him? They wanted to secure that young man and to make sure he did not get away alive, because now here's another testament of the power of Jesus. But the Bible says he just ran off naked. But obviously what was sorrow for that household became great joy, because no doubt he went home and explained what happened, because this young man actually wanted to follow Jesus because he knew this was the power of Jesus that had done this. So that was a second miracle which I didn't talk about last time. And then the third one was the Peter cutting off the high priest's servant's ear, Malchus. And we see Jesus picking up the ear and saying, you know what, Peter, those who are living by the sword, they die by the sword. And he actually puts this ear right back on the servant's, he attaches it back. And so a great miracle takes place. And yet these people are determined to arrest Jesus. Amazing. So here we are. What has happened since then now, of course? They arrest him, they take him to, I think it was Annas first, and then Annas sent him to Caiaphas from when he was, that's the high priest. And when they were there, they were just, really just going over things, questioning Jesus, questioning him. You say you're the Son of God, and on it went. They hit him, they blindfolded him, they spat on him. And this went on all night. And then in the day now, they sent him to Pilate. Pilate is questioning Jesus. And the Bible says that Pilate could even see it was out of sheer envy why these religious people had sent Jesus to him, because Pilate is questioning him and he's saying, you know what, I don't really find any fault in him. I don't see that there's a real problem. But they were determined. So then Pilate thinks, okay, let me send him to Herod, because he's, I think he heard he was of Galilee. And then he said, that's Herod's jurisdiction, send him to Herod. And Herod questions him as well. And he's like, well, you know what? I'm glad to see him, because I really wanted to see him. And maybe he'll even do a miracle for me. But nothing like that happened. Jesus wasn't there on that assignment. And so then you find Herod is sending him back again. And this is again after Herod's guards had a pop at him. So, Jesus, he's hungry, he's tired, his body's already bruised. Yeah, he's already been humiliated. And then we get now to him coming back to Pilate, and Pilate now realizing that here these these religious bodies, the Pharisees, high priests and all of that are saying, oh, so, we don't have any king but Caesar, but this man, he says he's a king, and it's like you want him to live. So, it looks like then you're part of this then. If Caesar hears about this, then you'll be in trouble. They boxed him into a corner. What did Pilate do? Pilate washes his hands. He washes his hands in front of them because he recognizes innocent blood is about to be shed. Remember the Passover lamb, the innocent lamb. Innocent blood was about to be shed, and Pilate wanted them to know publicly, I have no part in this. Pilate's wife even had a dream, and she said to him, please be careful what you are doing concerning this man. Be very careful, because I had a dream last night and it's troubled me. Now, this also is getting Pilate thinking, oh my goodness. So he's washing his hands and he's saying, listen, I have nothing to do with this. This is innocent blood. And they're saying, don't worry, let his blood be on us and our children. Did not know what they were saying, did not understand what they were saying. So then here we are in chapter 19 of John's Gospel. And it's such a simple sentence, and it says, then Pilate therefore took Jesus and scourged him. Somebody might say, what's that? He took Jesus and scourged him. Very simple. To be scourged by the Romans was a dreadful thing. And no Roman citizens could ever be scourged. No women could be scourged. And no soldiers could be scourged. The only time a soldier would be scourged is if he was a deserter. What would happen? Your hands are tied around a column, a stone column. And then you will have one, but mostly two soldiers will come to you to whip you. Now, they are not going to whip you. Sometimes we see these little leather whips, and don't get me wrong, those will bruise and split the skin. But the Romans had perfected torture. The Romans, they had perfected it. So they will come to you, and on these whips will have glass attached to them. They will have bone attached to them. They will have wire. They will have sharp things. I believe, especially in the Apostle Paul's days, they had hooks on them. So when they whipped you, you were not just getting one lash. You were getting multiple lashes. And you imagine your skin, even by the time you've got two people lashing you, your skin is just in ribbons. They have gone beyond the skin now, and they are still flaying you. They are still going for it. Now, under the Jewish law, it was 39 stripes that they would give. And now these were not even with the bone, the glass, and all of those implements. but they would give you 39. It was always 39 lashes, never going beyond, okay? But with the Romans, it was how that soldier was feeling that day. And, you know, if he was really ticked off, you may die there. That's how it is, because the Romans were a law unto themselves. So you imagine Jesus, he's now been strapped there. He cannot move. He can't defend himself. And they whip you naked. They whip you naked. So your back, your buttocks, the backs of your legs, you were just a bloody mess by the time they finished with you. You know, I have attempted to watch The Passion of the Christ a number of times. And when it gets to that scene, can't do it. I've tried so many times, I can't do it. Because, number one, I'm really, you know, I've said to you before, I'm a sensitive person. But you know what gets to me? This happened, and still, Mel Gibson, who was the director of The Passion of the Christ, he said, it was worse than that, but he said, you can only go so far. You can only go so far to just give people an idea of what this was all about. I remember one scene in that film where the soldiers were laughing as they were whipping him. And as they whipped him and they pulled back, Jesus' blood splashed on the Roman soldier's face. I remember I just looked away after that, couldn't cope with it. And then the next time I turned back, they had Mary, his mother, she was just trying to dry up the blood because he had gone now. He's on his way to be crucified and she was just there. This was a scene that they put in. And Pilate's wife was just looking at her. And you know what? I know that John said there were so many things that happened that, you know, if it was all to be recorded, there would not be enough paper and pen to talk about all the things that Jesus did or that happened to Jesus. But what I want you to understand that at the hands of those soldiers, many already died. So when I can, you know, I can only imagine, and there are scriptures that I will read from the prophet Isaiah tomorrow that will just talk a little bit about what Jesus looked like, how he was so marred, how they were just like, who is this person now? After what had happened, he was so marred. I think we'll leave it there for today. Just be so considerate and meditate and think about what Jesus went through for you. That was not for your salvation, as it were. The Bible says, by his stripes, you're healed. We see pretty pictures of Jesus, you know, pretty pictures showing stripes, just showing some red markings on the back. It was nothing like that. I don't know how Jesus kept standing, that they thought, oh, he's strong enough to carry his cross. And in the end, Jesus just kept buckling under the cross. Because why? His treatment had been worse, from the temple guards hitting him, to Herod's soldiers hitting him, to Pilate's soldiers scourging him, and then, you know, hitting him on the head, putting that crown of thorns and pressing it down on his head. And the blood was just coming down into his eyes, into his beard. It was just matted. He was a mess. He was an absolute mess. But I want you to remember, he went through that for you and for me. That by those stripes that he took on his back, today you and I can be healed. God bless you. I love you. You have a great day.